Okay, so one I just saw here from Vincent was he would like to know more about interviewing and applying for jobs. How many exams do you need to pass before you start applying? So, really, I suggest that you start applying for actuarial internships or actuarial jobs right after you pass your very first exam. A lot of companies will be looking for someone that has more exams than that, but it's worth a try. There's no harm in applying to these companies, and you never know, you might get a position. Exams aren't the only thing they care about. It's one factor that they look at. So if you can make your resume really stand out in other ways, if maybe you have some other related past experience, or you have a lot of really good Excel knowledge, or just other things in general, they may consider hiring you even if you just have one exam passed. So once you get that first exam passed is when you should start applying. Of course, even while you're applying for jobs, usually I don't recommend spending your time applying for jobs and studying for your exam at the same time because they're both very time consuming. But once you have applied to jobs after passing that first exam, then immediately start studying for your next exam again. So just so most all of you know, the first two exams to take are exampie and FM, and then the third one will be IFM if you're planning to work in the US or Canada. So how to write an actuarial resume. Okay, there's a lot that goes into writing an actuarial resume. Obviously, you can become a member of the job search program after you are done studying for your first exam or your second exam. In the program, I show you everything you need to know about creating a really good actuarial resume. And then I actually review it and do an in-depth critique of it, help you fix it up so it's the best it can possibly be. I actually did a YouTube live a few days ago about how to boost your actuarial resume, so you'll definitely want to go back and watch that. We just talked about your job descriptions, your objective statement, and just your job, like not limiting yourself to specific geographical areas and types of positions. So that's a really helpful one too that you should watch. And really, you want to make sure that your resume is putting your best foot forward. You want to make sure that all your job descriptions are showing how your past experience relates to the position that you're trying to get. So if you have experience like tutoring, well, actuarial employers aren't looking for someone that knows how to tutor. So you can't just put on your resume that you tutored past students. You have to figure out how the skills and abilities that you gained in tutoring students and being a tutor, how that applies to an actuarial career and how it would benefit an actuarial employer. And more about that in the previous live stream that I did a few days ago, so you can go check that out after. And how important is a LinkedIn profile? So generally, I would say your LinkedIn profile is very important. It should almost replicate your resume. It should be in your resume to your LinkedIn profile, because I just don't see much point in doing that. It kind of gives employers another thing, like if they're already interested in you and they want to interview you, then adding in that LinkedIn profile just gives them another thing to check out about you and potentially find something that they're not so happy about or that they don't want or something. So I always recommend just not even giving them access to your LinkedIn profile. Of course, they might go look it up themselves and look online and find it. If they do that, there's nothing you can do about it, but I don't suggest just linking to it in your resume or any other communications that you have with them. Okay, and one last question here from Vincent. So if any of you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat if you're on YouTube, or right down below the video. There's a Q&A button for anyone that's on Zoom and in the study strategy program or the job search program. Okay, so last question from Vincent is, Is it a good idea to interview before learning some SQL and Excel? He only has basic Excel knowledge, even if I know Python and Java. So in general, the number one program that you need to know how to use when you want to become an actuary is Excel. When I worked as an actuary and when I was an intern, I used Excel almost every single day. It's so important that you know how to use it. So I would suggest learning that as soon as possible. Like even if you haven't had any interviews or if you've already done some interviews, it doesn't really matter. Just learn it now because it's going to be beneficial for your actuarial career. And on top of that, VBA is a language that you can use, a programming language that you can use to automate tasks in Excel. So rather than having to do a whole bunch of things manually over and over again, you can use VBA to program Excel and make it do stuff automatically for you. And that's another really beneficial coding language that I would recommend you learn. So if you're trying to learn some kind of programming language, I would go with VBA for use in Excel. And the number one program you want to learn is Excel for sure. Okay, so now I'll see if there's any, okay, so I see some other questions here. I'll take those right now, but just so you all know, there's a Q&A button below that you can put your questions in. And if you're on YouTube, you can put your questions in the chat area and I'll get to those. Okay, so Abraham asks, thank you once again, Brea, for your support. I have my degree in physics, graduated in 2011. How do I get my VEE credits? Okay, so the VEE credits, for anyone that doesn't already know, are basically just requirements that you have to meet in order to get, to be a fully qualified actuary. You actually have to get them in order to become an ASA or a member of the CIA, which is the Canadian Institute of Actuaries. So you're going to have to get these VEE credits. If you're in Canada, a lot of the time you can take certain courses that will, if you get good enough grades in those courses, then you are able to get your VEE credits. Otherwise, you have to take, and for the US, anyone in the US, you'd have to find courses online that teach those. So I believe the Infinite Actuary or TIA has courses that will allow you to get the VEE credits, or Coaching Actuaries, I believe they have some as well. Actex might have them as well. So check out those three for sure. All of them will be good, best, but there are 3 VEE credits that you have to get. Usually employers don't really care too much about which ones you've already passed and stuff because they're generally fairly easy to get. A lot of the time, if you just have the requirements for them already met, like let's say you take a course online, or something like that, and you actually have passed the course so you can get the credit, then there's still one other step, which is to actually pay the SOA to get those credits. So you have to, I think it's about $100. You have to pay that for each of the 3 credits. So a lot of people just take the course or get the passing grades in school, and on their resume, they put that they've met the VEE requirements. But then once they actually start working is when they will go ahead and pay the SOA for those credits. And that's just because your employer will probably pay for them. So just to avoid you having to pay the fee out of your own pocket, you can wait until you get hired and then your employer will pay for those credits. Okay, next question is from Ryan. He asks, is exam P much harder than exam FM? I wouldn't say exam P is much harder. It does have a lot more calculus on it. So if you already took exam FM and you found that that the calculus was fairly difficult, then you might struggle a bit more with exam P. But generally, it's not too much harder. The main thing that causes most people to feel that it's harder is all the calculus. Exam P has quite a bit more calculus on it than exam FM. But if you can pass exam FM, then I don't have any doubt that you'd be able to pass exam P. Okay, I'm going to take one quick YouTube question here. Ari asks, do you think people are hiring now? Or has there been a drop in recruitment? Like right now, I would doubt that there are many people actually, or many companies actually going through the process of hiring people. There might be still job postings online, but I doubt that they're bringing many people in to actually do the interviews. If they are trying to do interviews, then they'd probably do something more like this, where you do a video call. That's what my guess would be. So I do think there probably is a reduction right now, but I don't think it will last too long, because if these employers need people, they need people, and they need to find the people to keep supporting them. Like they can't just hand off everyone's work to other people. So I do think it'll affect hiring for a little while, but then if they need people, they're going to get them. So keep on applying to jobs. Don't hold back now. Keep studying for your exams. Don't worry about when the SOA will open up their exams again. For as of right now, I've heard that Prometric test centers are closed until April 16th. But if you have your exam booked for after that already, you should be assuming that it will go ahead as normal. And that's what I'm assuming for everyone until we hear otherwise. If your exam was already booked before April 16th, then you're probably going to be able to get a refund from the SOA and move your exam to a later date. So keep studying for your exams, keep applying to jobs. Don't hold off on any of those, because there's going to be a time not too far away, I believe, that everything will just start happening again, and maybe there'll be extra precautions put in place, but I don't think this will last too long. So keep going, don't hold back. Okay, next back to Zoom. So just so everyone knows, on Zoom, it's the study strategy program members or the job search program members. So every week we do, every month I do a live Q&A call just like this, where members can ask questions. Usually I don't put it onto YouTube and have other people on YouTube be able to ask questions, but I know that a lot of you are home right now, bored, looking for things to do other than study. So I just thought it would be helpful to have everyone join in this call today, this month. Okay. So Joe asks, in regards to studying, would coaching actuaries be sufficient enough to get me through exampie? Okay, so Joe, definitely that's enough. I've had tons of people in the study strategy pass exampie with just coaching actuaries. So coaching actuaries comes with the Learn. Usually I recommend the Learn bundle, which has tons of video lessons that teach you all the topics that you need to know for the exam. And it also comes with Adapt. So for those of you that don't know, Adapt is basically a program that is offered by the Coaching Actuaries company, and it has over 1,000 practice questions in it. Many of them are not taken from anywhere else, so they're brand new questions. And what's cool about Adapt is that you can do quizzes in Adapt on certain specific topics that are causing you trouble, and you can also do questions that are a certain difficulty level. So at the beginning, I have members of the study strategy program start at level 3 exams. And for most people, those are fairly easy. But then as you get better and better at the exams, Adapt slowly moves you up and up higher to more difficult problems. So Coaching Actuaries is a great program. And really all the options that are available right now are awesome. And I've had members in the study strategy program pass. Just ask questions. If you have any questions about getting a job, passing exams, your current actuarial journey and what your next step might be, learning Excel, anything like that, the actuarial career in general, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to answer your questions. Personally, for me, I've been called SAS, but since right now you don't really know whether you're going to go into, you don't know whether you're going to go the CAS route or the SOA route. I wouldn't really recommend learning that one because you might be wasting your time. SAS is really only used primarily that other people were sometimes using Python. So that could be another one to look into. But if you are trying to pass your exams right now, I would recommend that if you already know VBA and Excel really well, that you don't use your time learning those. Use your time studying for your exams and fixing up your resume, applying to all for members. And then we'll go to YouTube. So make sure you ask your questions in YouTube. Okay. The truth is I don't have any of the 3 courses covered on physics transcripts. Okay, so no, when you go to pay for your VEE credits, you don't have to pass any other formal exam. The exam, if there even is one, which I believe there is, but I'm not 100% sure, the exam you have to take would be in the course, the online course that you took through TIA or ACTEX or Coaching Actuaries, whichever one of those you decide on. And you'd have to pass that exam in order to get credit for and pass the whole course in general. So having passed that course will be enough for you to go ahead and get your VEE credits through the SOA. You just have to pay the $100, I believe it's $100 fee to get those. Okay. Let me check on YouTube now. Okay, so I am a student member of the IFOA and would like to know the validity of the exam that I passed from the UK Actuary Society. I will take my exam in April. Okay, so the IFOA is the kind of SOA, the UK version of the SOA. It's their Institute of Actuaries. Okay, so that is what you're asking. You're actually asking about the CIA, which is the Canadian Institute of Actuaries. So yeah, basically in Canada, if you pass the SOA exams, then you can get credit for the CIA exam. So you definitely want to make sure that you are. Sorry guys, I'm not sure if my connection is working or not. It says it's unstable. Yeah, so you're definitely going to want to check that out. If you are working in the UK or plan to work in the UK, then your IFOA exams would be perfectly fine. I wouldn't recommend really bothering to get credit in the Society of Actuaries. So, but if on the other hand you are planning to take exams in Canada or the US, then you'll want to, or sorry, if you're planning to work in Canada or the US, then you will want to get credit for the SOA exams. Okay, let's see. Okay, another question here from Abraham. How would you rate exam P compared with the other preliminary exams in terms of its difficulty? Okay, so I would say FM is probably the easiest exam for most people. Exam P would be the next easiest. IFM is the next. And there's quite a bit of a jump between exam P and IFM. I've found with members of the study strategy program that there's a lot more material. You have to study for quite a bit longer. And in general, the material is a bit harder to wrap your head around. Like it's more difficult to understand. So I would say P is harder than FM, easier than IFM. And honestly, I haven't taken the other exams that are offered right now. When I was taking my actuarial exams, I had different ones to take. So I'm not really sure how difficult they are relative to exam P, FM, and IFM. I'm assuming they're all more difficult though, because otherwise they wouldn't be they would be before exam P rather than after. I have taken the fellowship exams, which are the 3 exams that you have to take after you're an ASA. I've taken some of the fellowship exams, not all of them. So these are the exams you have to take after you're an ASA and you want to become an FSA. And they are much harder, a lot more written answer, less math than you'll see on exam FM, P, and IFM. There's way more material on them. They they take probably 6 to 7 months to prepare for fully. And a lot of the time people are also working full time while they're trying to study for those exams, maybe have families too. And I know a lot of you are in a similar situation right now, even just writing exampie and FM. So all those other things make it even more difficult to pass, of course, when you have so many other things going on in your life. Okay. Okay, so Joe asks, if we signed up for the monthly study strategy program, do we qualify for the pass guarantee? I think it says on the website, but I just wanted to ask. So Joe, you can look on your study workbook. On the Actuarial tab, there'll be a little spot that says whether or not you qualify for the pass guarantee. So in order to qualify for the pass guarantee, you have to be in the study strategy program 14 weeks before the beginning of the exam window that you want to take your exam in, and you can't fall more than 7 days behind schedule. So if you met both those requirements, Joe, then yes, you would qualify for the pass guarantee. It doesn't matter whether you're a month-to-month member or you purchase 6 months in the program. What was I going to say about that? I forget. Anyway, so yeah, go check that and see that way whether you are eligible for it right now. Okay, I only see one more question here on Zoom, so if you guys have any other questions, please go ahead and ask now. If there's no more questions, then we'll end today's Q&A call. Same within YouTube. I don't see any more questions there. So if you do have any questions on YouTube, go ahead and ask them now so that you get your questions answered. It doesn't matter anything related to the actuarial career in general, studying for your exams, getting a job or an internship, anything like that is perfectly fine to ask about. Okay. So Abraham asks, what is the job outlook for someone who is considering only the Sierra designation in their pursuit of the SOA exams? Okay, honestly, I'm not too familiar with how the Sierra designation works compared to other ones. I believe that some specific positions will only require a Sierra designation, but other positions are going to want you to have your full FCAS or FSA, FSA. They'll want you to have your full FSA designation. So I do think by just getting the Sierra designation, you are going to limit yourself in the future because there won't be as many positions that will just allow that kind of designation. However, if you are very specialized in that area already, then you may not even need other qualifications because your Sierra designation right now. What I would concern yourself with is just passing these first 3 exams, exampie, FM, and IFM, and then working to get your first full-time job or an internship. And usually the type of job that you get will dictate what direction you go. So that's how most people decide what direction they'll go and what designation they'll get. If there are certain types of positions that interest you more, then you could definitely try to get those types of jobs when you first start looking for your full-time job. Sure, you can just apply to casualty jobs, or you can just apply to life insurance type jobs and stuff like that. But by doing that, you're really limiting your options. I always advise that you apply to every actuarial position that is available right now, just so that you're not limiting yourself, you're not reducing your chances of getting a job and stuff. So, and actually, you might find that you're surprised that you like a different type of job. So when I first started studying for my actuarial exams, I kind of thought I wanted to go into the casualty route, like I wanted to deal with car insurance or something like that. But I ended up doing an internship in both auto insurance and another in life insurance. And I still kind of preferred the casualty insurance or the auto insurance more, but my first job ended up being in life insurance, and really I didn't mind. I liked it just as much. It's not so much about the type of I guess what kind of insurance you're applying your knowledge to. It's just that you get to apply that knowledge to insurance in general. And for me personally, I didn't find that casualty insurance was that much different. Like, you're still applying your knowledge to insurance, and what kind of insurance you apply it to doesn't really make that much difference. So that's what I found, and I suggest you do something similar. Just don't limit your options when you're just starting out. Okay. So I don't see any more questions on YouTube. Oh, I just got a few more in here from the Study Strategy Program members. Okay, next is from Abraham, and he says, thank you for the Study Strategy Program. Aside your plan for the exampie, what would you advise for us to do to do more Excel great? I think you're trying to say what would you advise for us to do other than what I've already recommended in your study strategy. So really, if you're following your study strategy plan and it's going well and you have some extra time, I recommend that you actually work ahead of your schedule rather than trying to do other things, because I use all the data that you give me from your practice exams and your practice questions. I use all that to make sure that you're always doing the tasks that are most beneficial for you. So I'll actually use your tracking for your question blocks and your it already has the tasks in it that I think are the best for you to be doing right now. If at any time, if there are certain topics that you are having trouble with and you feel like they're a bit more difficult, then you can always spend some time reviewing those specifically. Whenever you do review, what I recommend is that you first review the section in your study material, and then you actually do 5 practice questions on that exact section, or if you get the answer wrong, read through the solution, make sure you fully understand the solution, and then try doing the question. So it's so important to make sure that you're always fully understanding questions that you get wrong. And yeah, so basically the only extra thing you can be doing is either reviewing difficult topics that are consistently causing you trouble, or move ahead in your study plan. Would you recommend to apply for a master's program in actuarial science, risk management? Or then I don't really see a benefit of applying for a master's program. I think that's going to give you a lot of work to do and not much time to study for your exams. And what most actuarial employers are going to care about is that you've passed actuarial exams. I would be willing to bet that they'd rather you've passed 4 or 5 exams than you have a master's degree or a master's degree in actuarial science or something related. So if you're really set on becoming an actuary, I think the best use of your time is to pass exams, not get different education. Of course, you do need a bachelor's degree, but whatever your bachelor's degree in is fine for the most part. The one benefit that, so have a really good co-op program that can, and basically a co-op program is similar to having your school go out and look for internship opportunities. You still have to apply to those internships. You have to go through the interview process, and it's very competitive since all the actuarial co-op students at Waterloo are competing for suggested. I'm not sure if they have a co-op program or what it's like, but having the school go out and actually find companies that are willing to do internships can be helpful, but you can do that on your own too. So I personally don't think it would be beneficial, but definitely do your own research. I don't want I don't want you to decide your whole career path based on only one thing that I said. Make sure you do research, see what other people think, maybe talk to a guidance counselor that is familiar with the actuarial career and stuff. But in my personal opinion, passing your exams is the best use of your time. And I don't really think it would make you a whole lot more competitive in the actuarial field. What will make you more competitive is having more exams passed, having related experience. So that's another really good thing you could be doing other than getting a master's degree, is going to find positions that are related to the actuarial career. Start working in a job in an office environment, in something that's related to actuarial work. It could be underwriting, it could be a data analyst, risk analyst, financial analyst, anything in an insurance company where you are kind of learning how insurance works and the different options that are available would be really beneficial. And I think that would make you a more competitive candidate than having that master's degree. That, and also learning Excel and making sure your resume is really good, and show, like, obviously you can join the job search program once you've passed your exam, and I can help you make sure that your resume is the best it can possibly be. But making sure that your resume reflects your past experience and how it relates to an actuarial career is really beneficial. So I think all those things combined would make you a more competitive candidate rather than going to get your master's in actuarial science. Okay, next question here is from Jesse, and he says, "Hi, I'm doing exam FM through Coaching Actuaries. Do you know of any tutorials to better learn?" Years ago, I believe I did some research on this in YouTube just to see if there were any helpful videos, and I recall finding a few, so you'll definitely want to check out YouTube. You can get a one-day trial of the ASM study manual for exam FM. You can get that on the Actex Med River website. It's a 24-hour trial, and ASM does a really good job of showing you how to, like, exactly what buttons to push on your BA2 Plus calculator. So that's another good place to go. The only problem is you can only get it for 24 hours unless you purchase you can only get it for free for 24 hours just as a sample. And then you'd have to purchase it if you want to keep it for longer than that. So I guess if you're going to go with that method, just make sure you have a really good amount of time set aside that you're going to be able to go through the manual and just pick out all the information you need to learn how to use that BA2 Plus calculator. Okay. Okay, I'll take a question from YouTube here. I see. Okay, so suppose I don't have an exam under my belt. Is there a way I can make myself a more qualified candidate if I don't have any practical experience in my field? Okay, so if you're trying to get a job or an internship without without any exam passed, it's going to be really difficult. I would say your number one priority is passing those exams. There's really not a whole lot of point in looking for an internship or an actuarial job without having at least one exam passed, because so many of your competitors are going to have at least one exam passed, plus other relevant stuff for the actuarial career. So by not having one, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. But if you were going to go and try to do this, then the next best thing would be to have some related experience. So like I said earlier, something in an insurance company, if you have any work related to that, would be good to put on your resume and helpful. Data analyst positions, risk analyst, financial analyst, stuff like that that's very related to the actuarial career would give you some relevant experience, which would help you be a more competitive candidate for an actuarial position. But still, I think that passing an exam, at least one exam, it shows employers that you are committed to the actuarial career. They want people that they don't want to hire someone that is planning that, even for an internship, they don't want to hire someone that isn't planning to seriously pursue the actuarial career, because they're training them. They want people that are actually good candidates to come in and work for them full time or stay with them full time, long term. So they want to see that commitment from you, see that you're actually able to pass an actuarial exam, that you're willing to put in the time and the effort, and you know how much time and effort it takes to fully prepare. So if you don't have an exam, I think you're putting yourself at a really big disadvantage for getting actuarial positions and internships. Okay. Abraham asks, how are the actuarial job prospects in the US compared with Canada? Where do you think hiring is more frequent? So my understanding is that the job market in Canada is much more competitive, and that's especially because we have the University of Waterloo here. Tons of students graduate from there all the time, and we have many other schools that have actuarial science programs too. And with there are lots of actuarial jobs in Canada, but there's just not enough jobs to for the demand. There's much more. I guess there's people graduating looking for those jobs than there are jobs available. So there's a lot of competition, both in the US and Canada, but more so in Canada. I would say that there's probably a lot more positions open in the US, but there are more people in the US too. So I don't know which one hires more frequently. If you are in the US and you're able to apply to jobs in Canada, I would certainly advise you do that. I'm not exactly sure how that works in terms of you being able to work in Canada if you're in the US, and vice versa. If you are in Canada, definitely apply to jobs in the US after you look into how that works with working across the border when you're not a citizen of that country. Okay. So Jesse, what was the name of the website? So you can go to actexmadriver.com. I'll put it in the chat for you. Or the Actuarial Bookstore. Both are legitimate places to get your studying resources from. So I put that website in the chat, and that's where you can go to get your one-day free trial of the ASM study manual, which will help teach you a bit about how to use the BA2 Plus calculator. Okay. Okay, there's only one more question left. So after this, if there's no more questions, I'm going to be ending this live stream. So please make sure your questions are in right now, because there's a little bit of a lag between when I say things and when you actually hear them. So there'll be a bit of a lag. So that's on YouTube and on Zoom. If you have any questions, please just put them in now so I don't skip them or miss them. Okay, so Abraham asks, which study manual would you say is best for exam P? Okay, so I have two main options here. If you're on a lower budget, or if you prefer to read the study material. ACTEX is spelled ACTEX, and it's a really good manual for exam P. Or the other option would be Coaching Actuaries Learn Bundle, which we talked about a little bit at the very beginning of this call. It has actual video lessons that will teach you everything you need to know about the exam, and it includes ADAPT, which I also talked about earlier, just to give you lots of practice problems. So both ACTEX and Coaching Actuaries are great resources for the exam. The main differences are just that if you'd rather read the study material, then you're definitely going to want to go with the ACTEX study manual. If you'd rather watch videos, then go with the Coaching Actuaries bundle. Or if you have a limited budget, then the ACTEX manual is a bit more affordable than the Coaching Actuaries bundle. I think Coaching Actuaries is around $400, I believe, for 6 months. So either of those would be great. It just depends on your preferred. Just the one reason I don't prefer TIA or recommend them is just they only have 6 or 7, and you need to do way more than 6 or 7 practice exams in order to be fully prepared for an exam. So I like Coaching Actuaries because it has ADAPT, which you can do unlimited number of practice exams in. Since their database has over 1,000 practice questions in it, you can do lots of different exams. And with the ACTEX study manual, it comes with about 10 practice exams right in the manual. And then it also comes with GOAL, which has an extra 5 exams. So there's 15 exams right in your study material. That's much more sufficient than just the 7 that come with TIA. And also you can get the TIA exams for free, 2 of them anyway. So that means you're only actually getting 4 exams that you can't get otherwise. By purchasing TIA, you can just get the 4 extra exams that you couldn't get otherwise. Okay, so I think that's all for questions today. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. If you have any questions, if you're in the study strategy program and have any other questions that I missed or anything like that, you can always email me. And if you're on YouTube and are interested in joining the study strategy program, it's basically my program where I prepare for their exam. They get a full study schedule, so you know exactly what to do every single day. You don't have to worry about that. Q&A calls just like this, so you can ask questions. We have group study sessions in there. There's a Q&A forum to get all your math questions answered. What else? Accountability check-ins. If you're having trouble staying on top of your studying, especially during this time, I know that many of you might kind of start feeling like studying's put on the back burner or that you don't really feel like doing it. Well, the accountability check-ins that you get in the study strategy program can really help keep you motivated to keep consistent with your studying, which is so important if you want to pass. Okay, and you can check out the study strategy program. I'll put a link in there in the chat right now if you're interested in checking it out. So yep, that's in the chat now and all the details are there. Okay, so bye everyone. Hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the next one.